Billionaire mine owner Clive Palmer has accused the CIA of trying to destroy the Australian coal industry, and he believes the Greens are guilty of treason for helping. In a wide-ranging performance today, he's expressed his respect for Treasurer Wayne Swan, who recently claimed that Mr Palmer was undermining democracy. The Queensland-based mining magnate also says he's not worried about the government's mining tax passed through the Senate last night. But his fellow mining bosses confirmed they're considering a High Court challenge to the new laws. Political correspondent Tom Eagledon reports from Canberra.
The Prime Minister's got her tail up after last night's Senate session.
I've put up with months and months of scoffing about the minerals resource rent tax. Guess what? It went through the Senate last night.
The Labor Party always chooses to celebrate when they're hitting us with a big new tax.
I think I'm entitled to go scoreboard, and at the moment it's running more in my favour than yours.
So I'm a bit upset about it, but there it is.
But Liberal state premiers are trying to even up the tally. They're daring the government to follow through on its threat to punish them financially if they put up their mining taxes.
And if we choose to raise the price in the future, we will do so regardless of any opinion of Wayne Swan, Julia Gillard or Penny Wong.
The federal government's agreed to reimburse miners for state royalty increases, like the $1 billion raise proposed in New South Wales, potentially putting a hole in Wayne Swan's budget.
He is misleading the people of Australia if he is saying that they don't think New South Wales is actually putting forward a royalty proposal. It's in our budget papers. It is happening.
Utilisation of our mines.
Meanwhile, Andrew Forrest's Fortescue Metal says it's preparing a High Court challenge to the tax.
We certainly have briefed council on, and we're waiting for their advice on how we move forward.
If there is a High Court challenge, the state government will intervene in that and present the state's point of view, which is to oppose the mining tax.
The opposition leader says the tax will be more popular outside Australia than in it.
They'll be celebrating in Canada, they'll be celebrating in Chile, they'll be celebrating in parts of Africa, because jobs and investment that would be going to Australia will now be going to other countries.
We care about this country. It's under attack by foreign interests.
Billionaire coal miner Clive Palmer says he's got proof the American Secret Service is trying to destroy Australia's coal industry.
Well, I think they want to promote their commodities at the expense of ours. Drew Hutton is a tool of the US government and Rockefeller, and so are the Greens and everything they say.
Mr Hutton's president of Lock the Gate, which is fighting coal seam gas mining in Queensland, and a contributor to a Greenpeace strategy paper called Stopping the Australian Coal Export Boom. The American non-profit group Rockefeller Family Trust funded the paper. Mr Palmer cited a US report into Watergate and US attempts to assassinate foreign leaders as proof of a link to the CIA.
Well, you have to go back and read the Church report in the 1970s and to read the reports to the US Congress, which sets up the Rockefeller Foundation as a conduit of CIA funding.
And he says US covert influence in Australia is nothing new.
You go back to the Whitlam dismissal, have a read on that. OK, you asked for an example, that's been documented. You go back and have a look at that. That was certainly dismissed. I can tell you that because I was aware of it at the time.
The Greenpeace paper calls for court action, a media strategy, and using the Greens to advance the anti-coal cause politically.
I think the Greens in this coming state election, all their candidates should resign if they're being funded by an offshore political power. It's tantamount to treason.
I'll be doing nothing of the sort.
Bob Brown denies the Greens take money from the CIA.
This is serious stuff. This is a serious funder of the Liberal National Party. This is Heartland Liberal National Party Queensland. And this is that sort of stupidity from Clive Palmer, which Campbell Newman just has to rule right out.
Mr Palmer's a prominent donor to the coalition, whose members are already distancing themselves from his comments.
You're kidding, mate. I mean, I haven't spoken to Clive on the issue personally. No, I don't know. That's a tough one. That's really tough.
On the face of it, it sounds out there, but I mean, obviously, I don't really know where he's coming from.
As for the mining tax, Clive Palmer says he isn't worried about it because he probably won't have to pay it. Says the man who last week threatened to challenge the carbon tax in the High Court. I don't care about any tax. It won't affect my life one way or the other. Tom Eagledon, Lateline.